afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us in Pemberton for our special meeting of council on Thursday, the 6th of March 2025, opening at 5:30. Kaya, nala karak nungamot, kan karak ninjabuja. We acknowledge the traditional custodians as the owners of this land. Announcements by the President. As you all know, there's quite a large piece of land burning a little bit south of here, and we'd like to thank the firefighters and anyone and hold everyone in our hearts and hope everything goes okay. Item 3, attendance. Apologies, we have nil. And 3.2, approved leave of absence. We have Councillor Paul Omade, Councillor Steve Mylan and Councillor Wade DeCampo as approved leave of absence.
Second mover and second.
Oh, because they haven't been approved. Is there someone like to move it? Councillor Ivy?
I move that we approve a leave of absence for Councillor Omade, Councillor Mylan and Councillor DeCampo.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ventris. All those in favour? There's only 6 of us. 6. Oh, thank you. Okay, declarations of interest, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. We have one declaration of a financial interest from yourself in relation to agenda item 7.1.1, which has to do with a proposed plantation. And the nature of the interest is that the Shire President has a past financial transaction with the President. Thank you. Who owns an earth moving company with industry involvement. Because it is a financial interest, the Shire President will need to vacate the seat and stand out the corridor while the council considers that agenda item.
Beverage. Thank you. Public question time. Questions from the public must relate, because it's a special meeting, the questions must relate to the items on the agenda at this meeting. You have 3 minutes. And could you state your name and your address? And if you have notes, could you please give them to the minutes taker? Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Hi.
Can you press the button, please, Mr. Storch? Thanks.
Hi, my name's John Storchy, 13 Wandley Street. I'm a partner in the block of land that's for sale. That's been offered to Tree Plantation Company, and as far as we're concerned, the property is a general agricultural zone. Plantations are long-term agriculture, just like avocados and orchards. The development application has been assessed and complied with requirements of the planning scheme and by the expert officer. There is no planning grounds to vote against the officer's recommendations based on the objections received by neighbours. There is no reason for the council to intervene or determine who we can and who we cannot sell our land to, and intervene when there is existing rules and regulations to deal with water, fire management and biosecurity. Taking this into issue, the State Administrative Tribunal is a waste of time and effort for all, including ratepayers. If sold to FPC, we will not be having this meeting. They'll just go ahead and plant it, no questions asked, no one can override them, and the chances are you'll never go back to farmland again. Now also, I am 63 years old. My brother is 67, my sister is 65, and the other sister is 58. We've got an 87-year-old mother, and we're trying to sort out the succession plan. The bank we're not interested in lending us money to pay out the other parties involved in this family succession plan, and we can't let someone else rule our succession plan on grounds that don't really stand on these grounds. And we can't, no one will give us the money to pay out the other siblings, and I'm sure the respondents won't give us the money either, so that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have any notes, Mr. Storch, can we have those, everybody? Thank you.
Barry Bourne, son of Carmel Trevor Bourne, Kimber Road, Manjimup. I'd just like to talk to the facts of the application. Firstly, in the letter that we sent to the Shire, we outlined some objections based on primarily its groundwater and some of the current drainages that were in the plans presented by Delta Forestry were in fact incorrect. The planning and development report that's in the agenda, figure 1 shows that the drainage runs truly east-west, and that drainage is missing in the application. The application shows a drainage to the south west into the natural lake on the Bourne property, and that is in the planning application, and that there is no buffer zone on the east-west drainage in the application. So just for clarity, there's a few omissions in that. Moving on to the report, which was really well done by the local planning. There's a few things we'd like to address in that. The area is zoned agricultural and it's predominantly been used for pastoral for the last 50 years. We have done some baseline studies on the water, and it was initiated originally from the avocado farm to the west of the Bourne property. And these are the current groundwater levels and groundwater use, and to act as a baseline for any future use of our family going forward, and certainly of the surrounding applications of use. That baseline study was pushed aside a little by the planning report, and that will be refuted because it is actually in agricultural land. The other comments that we do have is that the examples used here for the Nangara pine plantation is factual, and it does reduce the water table by 3.5 metres, thereabouts. The examples given at Nangara are for different rainfalls for the Manjimup area, and in the conclusions of the report, it was stated that the current pine plantations have an impact on water resources due to the reduction in groundwater or rainfall, which is not the case in the Manjimup area. The last 10 years shows that the difference in the groundwater levels are only 0.1 of a metre, and this has the potential to impact 3.5 metres in the current water table, and that will affect all surrounding areas in the drawdown. There are natural lakes that's within 700 metres, which do have native fauna in it, and also all our stock dams are reliant on the drainage and the groundwater flows from the position of where the pine plantations are.
That's 3 minutes, Mr.
All right,
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, Bernadette Backhouse, 115 Hawk Road, Gigra. Thank you, Council, for our new road. It's very good. Looking forward to the increase in metres going forward. My question to Council is, bearing in mind the Mudstone Day Spa application, non-application, I'm wondering, is there incentives through the council, like grants and things like that, to utilise the venues that council and the community have built up? For instance, the sports club, the swimming pool, the big book van, and if there are incentives, can council direct people to use those venues rather than private property? Thanks.
Thank you. I guess the biggest fund that we have available is our community grants, which is open at the moment until the end of March. Mr. CEO, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, thank you, Madam
The Shire does have community grants, which are typically directed towards not-for-profit events, although I understand under recent changes to our community grants policies, there might be for-profit applications that could be accepted. As a local government, we can't direct people towards those. We can offer the opportunity, we can offer the carrot, not the stick. And that's about as much as we can do in that space.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Anna Chicasa, 207 Cork Road, Woodruff. Madam President, councillors, CEO Penrose and staff, thank you very much for hearing us out. I only just found out, and my husband and I only found out that the application had changed somewhat, and I'm reading this on behalf of my husband Paul Nolan. I would like to take this opportunity to respond to the proposal for Floyd in the Forest at Cork Road. Over the years, music has been played on Greg Hamlin's property, and this has been tolerated, knowing that it was only once a year and not a commercial business. The proposal, the former proposal, does not state or make clear that this is a one-off event, and that for the remainder of the year it will be quiet, just the way that some residents prefer. Pemberton has natural venues to use for such events, e.g. the football oval, the basketball courts and the sports club, and the swimming pool area. If there's an issue about licensing alcohol, the sports club and oval would be suitable. Further to that, these venues provide infrastructure which already exists: parking, toilets, security, proximity to police station, hospital and fire service. I'm happy to accept that this is a one-off and that there will be no further proposals being considered in the future. I object to any further music applications other than the New Year's event. Regards, Paul Nolan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hannah, could we have your notes if possible, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Questions? All good? Fabulous, thank you. Okay. Item 6, presentation, 6.1, specifications.
Presentation.
I love technology.
Yeah, so do I, when I don't use this system.
Have you turned it on and off?
I did previously, I'm not going through. So do I have to use that, or can I speak like this?
It'll be recorded if you speak into there, so yeah.
Right, can you see that?
Yep. Yep.
Try not hurting. Madam President, councillors, thanks for the opportunity. Just a bit of an overview of what I'd like to discuss today. Why plantations? Why plantations are important for our local community?
Mr. Sampson, can you just state your name and
Oh,
address, sorry?
yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Glenn Sampson, no fixed address. 33 Headstone Cove and also 63 Hodgson's Road, Glenora. Why plantations? Is a bit of an overview. Yeah, why plantations, impact on local water resources, go through a little bit of fire risk management and access. So white plantations, you know, we obviously being a forestry town and a forestry community, we've seen this. There was a big investment in the early 2000s in hardwood plantations principally, and hitting a peak in around 2010. I think our peak plantation estate was around a bit under 300,000. Since 2010, we've lost about 150,000 hectares of plantations. And why is that an issue? We would have seen some losses and some reductions in the Shire management. Why is this an issue? Well, by 2035, the Australian Forest Products Association, the Master Builders Association, put out a report that we're going to have a supply gap of about 41,000 timber frame homes just for Western Australia. And just to put that into context, that's a city the size of Bunbury. So every year we've got a shortage that we need to source some timber from somewhere to build homes. And obviously we can't do it from our native forest. So just a property overview. So we're talking about two locations for John and Chris's block. We've had some respondents come in, so I thought I'd just identify where the respondents are, just so we can get a bit of an idea. This is a screenshot of the West Australian hydrological data, overlaid with some 2-metre contour. So I'll address the first one, impact of water resources. Here's a snapshot of the area. It's a snapshot of the hydrogeology. It's actually very interesting hydrogeology. It's in a part of the landscape which is quite old for Manjimup and Pemberton. So that light yellow classification there is one local aquifer, in inverted commas. It's old depositional and colluvial soils. It's rather sandy. It was from the old lateritic profile. It's very old, and that sort of extends back to Yornum. So you drive through that, come out and pop out, and then you drop down into the younger soils, which is the orange there. And so we've got sandy clays over weathered base rock, which tends to be granite or gneiss or schist, and then on the orange part of the map there, it's essentially the weathered base rock. So the aquifer is actually saprolite and the granite gneiss, and that's just reflects the topography essentially with the break and slope. We can see I've overlaid quite roughly, but it's reasonable. We'll go through it in a bit more detail. We can see John and Chris's block there in black, and we've got the respondents' properties in red, and we can see that the properties are varied in terms of where they sit on that hydrogeology and the actual aquifers that sit underneath them. Just to give you a bit of an idea, there wasn't commentary on the Nangara Mound. Water moves, we call it hydraulic conductivity. So water moves through soils and clays, sands at a different rate. So I'd estimate that soils in this landscape on those particular soil types are moving at 0.06 metres per day. Now, just to give you an idea, to move that from the extent of all those properties, 2.4 kilometres, a bit of water on the eastern side moving through that drainage line in the groundwater to the western side to discharge into Mill Creek would take 100 years. Compare that to the Nangara Mound, where water moves through those sands at 50 metres a day. Okay? So we're really talking peas and carrots when we're thinking about local aquifers here and in Manjimup in particular versus those on the coastal plain in Perth. Here's another snapshot. This is an east-west representation of the hydrological data, and apologies for this because it's an old one. And this east-west transect is actually a little bit north of the property. So there's a little bit of purple there you might not make out, but there's an old paleo channel which runs east and west in the Wilgarra. Wilgarra Road. This transect runs east-west to Wilgarra Road, does a little bit of a turn and heads to Scott River. Now, the properties in particular, that part there is a reasonable representation of what the local aquifer is going to look like. So the orange is weathered base rock, and then you can see slightly here, quite small, is the yellow sort of depositional old soils formed from some of the actually the most ancient soils that we have in the region. So just coming back to this, we'll go into each property in particular, but you can sort of see, if you think back to that, it's a bit hard, but the hydrogeology is going to be a little bit related to the topography. So you can see Bourne property here is quite high in the landscape compared to Chris and John's block. We've got the Bosley block next door that's got some of those orange areas, so some of the weathered rocks will be underneath these, and then the yellow stuff is generally around in these flats. So this is where we'll see those depositional sort of colluvial soils. Quite important here, we do have some hydrological data overlay. We'll actually zoom in and see a bit more of this, but we've got the Mill Creek, which actually drains all this system back out into the Woolgarra River and down into the Warren. Actually, just where probably the star is there on the Australian flag is where water moves to the Donnelly. So we're right at the top of the landscape, right on the edge of the watershed. Oh, so this is the Bosley block. Now, there were some concerns from the respondent around the dam at the house, and rightly so. Water for the house is very important, and the impact the plantation may have on that. It's very hard to see, so I apologise, and I can give you some better imagery later on. But you can see that the plantation is actually downstream. So water moves this way, water moves that way, water moves back down that way, and actually comes out through here. So that's the state government hydrological data. So it's unlikely that the plantation is going to impact that dam. Now we're looking at the Chatley property. Chatleys have got a lot of the similar aquifer to Chris and John's block through here. It also has some of the higher stuff towards the back. It is downstream from this property, whereas this property it isn't downstream from. But an important feature here is that any water coming from these properties is being drained out through Mill Creek. So we're really only impacting, if anything, potentially this part of Graham's property. Graham again is sensitive around his water here, but the plantation won't have an impact on that. It's on the other side of the creek. It drains out of this system here, and indeed it's got quite a minor catchment, so I can appreciate why he's having a problem there, but I don't think the plantation's going to have a problem.
1 more minute, Mr. Simpson.
This is the Bourne property. Again, not much to see here other than clearly it's quite high in the landscape, much higher in the landscape than Chris and John. You can see the flow of water's out through here and down through here and then pops out here. So again, this is hydrological data. We can just get this off the website. It's the state government data. So I suppose, the snapshot is that, any potential aquifers are localised, sufficient and minor. So these aren't major aquifers. Indeed, you pop the bore down, you're not likely to find any water. The groundwater underneath the properties isn't connected, given the hydraulic conductivity, and the subsoil substrate, and also the Mill Creek is a very important feature running through the landscape, draining out through the Warren. The Bourne and Bosley properties are located higher in the landscape and upstream to storage, so it's very unlikely that we're going to see the plantation affect upstream. It tends to be concerns downstream. This is the first time we've seen concerns upstream. 75% of the Chatley property is separated from I suppose the water balance of storage should be through Mill Creek. I noticed that respondents thought we might irrigate the plantation. We don't irrigate the plantation. We don't plan on interfering with the existing drainage line, and the plantation doesn't require any significant waters for maintenance.
That's time, Mr. Sampson. Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, and there's just a quick one. There's a little bit of concern around access. Here's a plan of the railway line and South High. The distance between the railway line and South High is 35 metres. We've got a legal right to take semi-trailers in there. We can take logs out of there with semi-trailers and reconfigure elsewhere. We've proposed B doubles and A doubles in the application. That'll be subject to a permit, which we have to go to main roads, and we need support by the Shire management for that. So we don't see that as a particular issue. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? I'm just wondering, in your submission, you mentioned the availability of two 2,300 litre contract heavy tankers. Are they from another plantation company?
No, a private contractor, and we're in the process of purchasing them.
Thank you.
Question?
No, sorry. Any other questions from councillors? Thank you. Alrighty. Officer reports. For the interest of the gallery, I'll explain how we're about to consider the two agenda items for
Excuse
this
me,
meeting.
Ben, there's another deputation.
Do we have another deputation? Oh, sorry, yep.
Two more.
Sorry. This I did not know. Thank you. Another deputation.
Have your beer.
Madam President
Thank you.
and councillors, my name is Angela Bignell. I live on 75 Walk Road, Peterborough. So I have to read from my phone photos of my notes because we had an internet dropout this afternoon.
No.
I lost all my documents, had to redo it. Bought my laptop just in case I could print it off here, but you never know. So please excuse my notes from my phone. I'll just introduce myself again. I'm Angela, and I've recently made a tree change to Hawke Road, Peterborough, in 2024. I relocated for the quiet enjoyment of the beautiful environment and the unique community. I'm a teacher by profession, and I enjoy the arts, and I'm supportive of the natural environment. When I first arrived, I noticed the Mudstone Spa Retreat, and I thought, how wonderful to have this service in such a tranquil place. Later, in a shop window, I saw a poster advertising Floyd in the Forest. You beauty, I thought. I love a good Pink Floyd tribute band. I had recently enjoyed a similar indoor concert at the Frio Social, my old stomping ground. My excitement quickly turned to despair when I realised that it was to be held as an outdoor event at Mudstone. Oh no, not again, I thought. I was immediately transported back to their New Year's Eve party where loud music was played until the early morning hours. My guests and I retreated inside as our music could not compete with their doof-doof. I went to bed early, but was woken many times during the night. There were many vehicles parked up and down Hawke Road in a way that damaged the bush verge. A similar party was held the next evening with music going on till after midnight. I think, as I'm not exactly sure of the time it ended, as I was sleep deprived from the previous night's do. I understand that Mudstone have changed their temporary permit application to a private party event. Perhaps they've changed this to avoid complying with Shire regulations for safe community events. However, prior to this, I did see on Facebook that they were advertising tickets for sale, and to quote them, our new bar backdrop is looking spectacular. In just a few months, our new outdoor function area will be finished and ready. Quick question. New outdoor function area. What plans do they have to host regular events or / parties? How many would they desire to have each year? What further disruptions will our neighbourhood have to endure? sure. What about the risks involved in the natural environment of flora and fauna? What about the risk of fire? Just to name a few. Our area is a rural agricultural and lifestyle place. It is located in the proximity of the Warren National Park, and for this reason, it is therefore inappropriate to have a function centre, a music business for an outdoor function area. I would like to suggest that there are many alternative places that would be safer and less disruptive. Other possible venues have already been named, such as the Penny Pool, the Oval, the Sports Club itself, the Carrick Valley, by the lake, even the Manjimark Music Show. As these venues have a beautiful natural backdrop and they have existing infrastructure such as adequate parking, access to ambulance and fire services, to ensure a safe event. There may be cost to share, but also the profits. The Pemberton Pool, for example, is fundraising for improvements. Perhaps a portion of ticket sales can be shared with greater benefits to the community. Working collaboratively with the Shire, this could be a win-win for the whole community. It would also negate the negative impacts of hosting an event in a sensitive environment. Let's not lose a creative idea. Let's work for the gain. Let's work to gain the benefits for the whole community rather than isolate. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Oh, I can email this to you later when I get.
That would, when you get service, that'd be great. Thank you. I guess all I can say is that there has not been a development application presented to the Shire at the moment. When and if that happens, the surrounding neighbours will be notified and you have the ability to comment on that application at that time. So, thank you. Presentation, because there's another one.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Councillors, Mr Rose and staff. Before I start, I would like to thank the Council for allowing me time to speak and be heard on this matter today. By way of introduction, my name is Gabrielle and my husband and I live,
That's all right.
at 39 Hawke Road, Yeagerup. My husband is not able to be here today to support me as he is a FIFO worker and could not get leave approved at such short notice. My husband and I have lived together in London for 10 years and then in Perth for another 10 before finding our way to Pemberton as tourists. We were hooked from our very first visit and returned 3 more times, staying in secluded rural locations such as Green Cabin in Chanibira and Stargazers in Chanibira and Pirabira. We instantly fell in love with the Warren River, the beautiful Karri forests, the peacefulness and the dark night skies. Fast forward to now, and after living in Yeagerup for 4 years, the novelty has still not worn off. Almost weekly, we sit out on our porch, which has a beautiful view across our dam and into the forest. And one of us will always explain, can you believe we actually live here now? And then we laugh at ourselves because it's like a scene out of the castle. Yeagerup is a small priority agricultural zone that effectively exists inside a national park. We see Yeagerup as a special area, not dissimilar to the Donnelly River huts, in that if you walked into council today and asked to clear all that land out of a national park, chuck in some farms and hodgepodge little properties, you'd be laughed out of the room. We live here as a privilege because of decisions past, and we should treat it as such. The area that we live in should be respected, appreciated, preserved and protected. It is for these reasons that we believe large, disruptive and high-risk events have no place in this area. The beautiful, peaceful national parks surrounding Pemberton are the jewels in our tourism crown. We should take great care to preserve the amenity of the very things tourists come here to enjoy. The proposed Floyd in the Forest event has been classified and described by the Shire as high risk and complicated. Resident concerns have been previously detailed to the Shire in writing, and include nuisance noise from the music itself, but also the event generally, bump in, bump out, the arrival and departure of 100 or 150 cars idling, who knows. At the end of my presentation, I do have a video from their recent New Year's Eve function, which I took at 2:30 in the morning, that will illustrate the deafening noise that was coming from next door. I would like to maybe show at the end so that I make sure I have enough time if anyone would like to see it. Other issues include traffic congestion and dust, emergency management in a remote and bushfire-prone area with a cul-de-sac and limited road access, antisocial behaviours such as intoxication, littering, drink driving, etc. Potential for increasing crime with strangers coming into an area they previously may be unaware of. We believe this event in this location cannot occur without significantly impacting the amenity of the area and residents' right to quiet enjoyment of their properties. The officer's report to council has noted the requirement for council to balance the right of residents to quiet enjoyment against the potential benefits of the event to the wider community, specifically artistic and cultural enrichment and attracting visitors to the area to support local businesses. I would like to note that my husband and I are supporters of the local cultural and artistic scene. We own no less than 13 works of art, sculptures, paintings that we have purchased from local artists or local galleries. We regularly attend and participate in cultural events to support our community businesses. So what of the problem of residents' quiet enjoyment against versus benefits to the community? The problem is simple. The answer is very, very simple. Just move it to a different location. I do not understand why this has to be held specifically at this location. There appears to be no benefit and a lot to lose. If this event would be absolutely amazing if it was to be held at the Pemberton pool. The benefits to the community if it was held there would arguably be greater and we would be going. The final issue I'd like to raise today is an uncomfortable one. I sincerely wish I didn't have to address this, but I feel that I must. I'm a person who plays with a straight bat, and as kindly as possible, I call a spade a spade. I have concerns regarding the integrity and recent behaviour of the event organisers and their general suitability to be entrusted to hold such events. There is a significant and real perception in our wider community that the event organisers, and I quote, don't follow the rules, find loopholes, and I apologise for this, have friends in the Shire, get away with everything and only care about themselves. I wish to make it clear that these are not my statements. These are statements I've encountered in our community when people are constantly asking me how I feel about this event. I don't claim that these statements are true. I don't know. What I will note is that regarding this recent event, the organisers' complete lack of consultation with any neighbours prior to releasing tickets, and the actions of event organisers this past week, attempting to convert their event into a private one in an attempt to avoid having to comply with relevant legislation, has given credibility to some of these community observations. In conclusion, holding this event in a more appropriate location will alleviate all the issues specific to its current location, whilst still providing great and possibly more benefits to the wider community. It is important that our community has faith that the council will not tolerate attempts to avoid due process. It's not fair on everybody who does. I very respectfully request that the Shire deny this application for a temporary event permit. Thank you for your time, and please let me know if you'd like to watch the video. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillors, do you want to watch the video? We've got a couple of minutes. Yep, have you got time to do it? Yeah, I'm not sure whether we'll be able to book it in, but.
Oh, can I show you?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so
Do you want to? You interested?
I think they just said do it on the phone. It's just on
Yeah.
the
You can do it
phone.
on the phone.
Yep.
Yeah, I can just quickly show you.
Yeah.
Click it.
Yeah, I'll just, so this was taken on my front porch at 2:35 a.m. Oh, sorry, hang on, the music's not coming. I've got it on silent. Oh, it's probably not too much. Sorry, I've got so many of them, hang on. Sorry. I wasn't planning to do this, it was a bit off the cuff.
That's right.
Just describe what you're going to show us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just basically a video of our front porch, and the music is extremely loud, like literally like you were next door to the big day out. You can hear all the bass coming through the walls in all the different rooms of our houses. So I can email it through if the Shire would like.
Yep, and then we can distribute
I
that.
think we understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Might show us.
thank you. Any other present deputation that I don't know about? Thank you. Okay. Officers' report, development services, 7.1 statutory planning, 7.1.1 proposed plantation at lot 4156 Loop Road and lot 6196 Barber Road. Lorinda,
As per the officer's report,
I'm leaving.
Before we do that.
Just need a chair.
Yeah.
Oh, you can do that?
Actually, you could do that before we
Yeah,
go.
I'll do that.
Meetings, like.
Yeah, do you want to get that?
Yeah, just for the members in the gallery, as the Shire President needs to leave the meeting venue for this agenda item, ordinarily, the Deputy Shire President would fill in for the Shire President. However, the Deputy Shire President had knee reconstruction surgery a matter of days ago. So the Shire President will need to call on one of the councillors present to be the chair of the meeting for the next agenda item.
Any nominations, councillors? Councillor Darren, do you accept the nomination that Councillor Ivy has just put above her head?
I was gonna say, I didn't say anything.
Councillors?
I was going to nominate Cliff because someone had overturned it, but whether there's any wisdom in that,
Do you want,
I don't want to vote.
I don't mind.
happy? Fabulous, thank you.
Should we vote on it?
Yes, it does need a vote, yes.
All those in favour of Councillor Winfield?
So I'll nominate.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Darren, all those in favour? Councillor Winfield, don't get comfortable.
Not me to do this.
It's ready for you online if you want that one.
Right.
Enough to shut this.
Yeah.
Two former vice presidents.
Madam President, best to leave it open in
Yeah, I
case
think
any
it's
members
better. I'll
of
just
the
go to the
gallery.
bar if anyone wants.
We need to ask for it to move it.
Yeah. Item 7.1.1, proposed plantation lot 4156 Loop Road and 6196 Barber Road, Greenbark. Can I call for nominations of the agenda item, please?
I'll move officer's recommendation.
Seconder? Councillor Wilcox. Would you like to speak to that, Murray?
I'll reserve.
Councillor Wilcox? I'll speak to it myself, do I have to stand?
No, but usually the presiding person would wait for others to speak first.
Okay.
You know I was gonna talk at some point, right? I'm gonna speak against the motion. Firstly, I wanna say I actually quite support, pine plantations. I recognise that there is a need for, these products. And certainly with the forestry industry closed, that's created more challenges. The issue with this one, and I think with all of these things, is that it is based on the location. We have to take each one on its own merits. And I do think that the concerns of the neighbours do need to be taken seriously in this instance, and that potentially that there would be better locations that have less of an impact on the neighbours. So I wanted to make a few comments, and in particular on two aspects, one being the groundwater. There was
discussion in the report about the impact of plantations on the groundwater. It was presented in the way that the Nangara Mound assessment, that the reduction in rainfall was a significant factor in reducing groundwater, which essentially is true. It indicate that lowering the groundwater level from reduced rainfall was of about 4 metres, but land use management and management changes had an impact of up to 3.5 metres. And I think it stands up to the pub test that if something is going to have an impact of 4 metres and an impact of 3.5 metres, that they are probably equally as significant as each other. And seeing as though we have no influence over the rainfall, and we do have influence over land use and management changes, that is something that we do need to take seriously. But I'm not a hydrologist, and I was interested in understanding what does 3.5 metres mean? What does 4 metres mean to the reality of the surrounding land? So I did a little bit of research, and there's a Journal of Hydrology where a report on the effects of long-term water table drawdown on transevaporation and vegetation came out of San Luis Valley in the US. And they were looking at an area where the water table had lowered by a mean of 2.5 metres. That report found that the vegetation changed markedly and that the total annual evapotranspiration decreased by 32% and groundwater component of evapotranspiration decreased by 62%. And when I read that, it means that at a mean of 2.5 metres, a drop in the groundwater levels is going to have an impact on the surrounding areas. It is going to have an impact on the vegetation. It is going to have an impact on those directly adjacent. And these are agricultural farms that are relying on the vegetation, are relying on surface water, are relying on rainfall and runoff and all of these things for their business operations. And when we make these decisions, I do believe we have to take into consideration the existing businesses are there. A pine plantation is there for 30 to 40 years before it is harvested. So that's not only this generation of farmers, it's the next generation of farmers on that land too. The other issue that was raised was the bushfire risk. I know that the guidelines say that there is a 100-metre buffer from a bushfire prone forest. And in 2003, there was quite significant bushfires in Canberra, around Canberra, and a lot of that was plantation. In an assessment of that after the fire, 43% of houses in 125 to 152 metres from the plantation ember zone were destroyed as a result of heavy ember attack. I do think it is reasonable for the neighbours to say that their properties at 100 metres from a pine plantation will be under threat of ember attack if it goes up. The guidelines might say 100 metres, but if you're sitting in that house and you are facing an ember attack from a plantation fire, I'm not sure how many of us would sit in that house, because I certainly think I'd be moving my family out pretty quickly. In terms of how you move it out quickly, there are challenges, and I think we've all recognised that there are challenges in terms of exiting that property. Like I said, I'm not sure I would put my family at that sort of a risk. So, look, I know this is a really grey area. It's really, really hard. I understand some of the issues that the proponents have raised, and there probably are some valid ones, but I do think that there are some very valid points that the neighbours have made. And when they have existing business operations, I don't think as this council, when it's not a permitted use of this land zoning, and it is our decision as to whether or not we let this go ahead, my stance is that we should be supporting the existing businesses and their operations and ensure that they remain viable and profitable into the future and not risk that unnecessarily.
Exercise my right.
That will try as the debate.
Okay.
I'll speak. Do I stand or not? No. Sorry. Learner certificate here. I have a bias towards fibre production myself. I believe WA needs lumber more than it needs beef at the moment, and so I supported some of the comments that the proponent put forward. And also, without knowing the content of the proponent's presentation, I too did some research myself. I went out and drove around the properties, and I've looked at the overland water flow and the soil types, and I actually have made my own map of which way it's going and which way it's coming, and they align with the ones as presented. So I understand completely, and I think that the proponent's report was pretty straightforward, and I believe the benefits of the proposal are worthwhile, and I'd recommend that we support the officer's recommendation. In regard to the fire that's been raised, the fire issues, in my experience, plantations are actually better managed for fire than most private properties. There's a big lot of dollars sitting in those plantation assets, and they tend to look after them a lot. And as far as ferals are concerned, feral animals are the responsibility of all landholders, whether they're on their own land or someone else's land. It's, the feral's responsibility is the landholder's responsibility. So I urge you to support this. Councillor Ventress.
I'd like to speak
for
the officer's recommendation and then close the debate. Look, this is a difficult situation. The best place possibly at the moment is be granted a leave of absence, and we've got 3 of those tonight. It's a difficult situation that five of us find ourselves in. Look, we've all had lifetime experience. I've had a farming experience myself, but does that make me an expert in hydrology and some of that stuff that we just saw? It's not an easy situation, and in this situation, I guess we look for the best we can do. And one of the things we've got to walk past here is an officer's recommendation. So we've got some professional people involved in the organisation. They've looked at all different angles, and they've come up with a recommendation. So to some degree, you have to have a lot of confidence to go against the officer's recommendation. That's what I'm just explaining to the gallery. You've got to be pretty clear in your mind, and you know what you're talking about. At the end of the day, I don't have that confidence. So I'm leaning to some degree in my decision and support on the officer's recommendation, that I'm trusting that they've put that time and effort in, and I appreciate the work. It wouldn't have been easy for them as well. Some of the other points that I will just make is, sometimes as local government, we wear the decisions that are made by state and federal government. And I think in some ways it's out of our control. So for better or for worse, the facts are the state government, our current state government, which was democratically elected by the people of Western Australia, has chosen to close down the native forest industry. Now, that's, in my way of thinking, or some people would say, that's carry growing on carry country, grown to be harvested in a sustainable manner. Now, we can argue about that sort of thing all night, but the decision's been made, and the state has decided to close down native timber, and we're all well aware of that situation. The next step to that is obviously a demand for timber, and we saw it tonight. The demand for timber, it's either going to come from plantations or native forest. The native forest situation is getting closed up. The demand for timber's there, and so the natural consequence is going to be a demand to put pines on farming properties, and the state government itself is currently doing that. They've committed $350 million to buy farming properties to put pine on. Now I can agree with that decision or disagree with that decision, but the state has led this to some degree. So what we find tonight, there's a demand for this, and it's being led by the state of Western Australia that was voted by the people of Western Australia. So I give an element of respect. That's the decision that's been made. But for us 5, all of a sudden to go against that stream, there's a stream flowing in that direction. So I think, again, to go against the officer's recommendation, to go against what the state's pointed, in the direction the state's pointed us in, whether that's, and we can argue whether that's the right direction, but that's the direction the state's pointed us into. In this situation, these proponents could sell their property to the state tomorrow, and the state would just do it. There'd be no decision of us 5 people seated here tonight. And we could reject this application tonight, and the chances are the property could be sold to the state, as I just explained, or they could go to SAT. Now, if it goes to SAT, we're most probably committing $5,000 to $10,000 to represent ourselves at SAT. So I've also got to make the decision tonight, do the ratepayers, the majority of ratepayers in this community, want to spend $5,000 to $10,000 going to SAT to appeal the decision, which we've most probably got a good chance of losing anyway. So weigh it all up by looking at the officer's recommendation, I'm looking at the direction the state's pointed us in, and I'm looking at the cost to appeal and going to SAT. And also the SAT will most probably make a decision that this project can go ahead. So Murray Ventris, the person, may or may not support this, but as a councillor, I've looked at the logic of this and tried to make a logical decision. I know it won't please everyone. It's one of those situations where you can't please everyone. And so tonight I'll be supporting officers' recommendation or encourage others to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Ventris. That's it. Put it to the vote. Okay, councillors, put that motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. 4-1. Thank you.
That's a short-lived, leadership, wasn't it?
Oh, well,
One last hurrah before the
you're
next.
lucky there was any convention at all. I just asked whether he's going to do it or not. Did you have a bit?
Oh, yeah, I did. The massive people that are down there. Good couple of shots.
Okay. 7.2.1, event application, Floyd in the Forest at Mudstone Spa Retreat, 22nd of March 2025. Councillor Darren?
I would like to move an alternative recommendation that Council 1 acknowledge that the event organisers, Greg and Joy Hamlin, have withdrawn their event application to the Shire for the Floyd in the Forest concert on the 22nd of March 2025 at the Mudstone Spa Retreat, 21 Hawke Road, Yeagerup. 2, acknowledge that the event organisers, Greg and Joy Hamlin, have withdrawn their noise exemption application to the Shire for the Floyd in the Forest concert on the 22nd of March 2025 at the Mudstone Spa Retreat, 21 Hawke Road, Yeagerup. And 3, acknowledge that there is presently no Shire authorised event on the 22nd of March 2025 at the Mudstone Spa Retreat, 21 Hawke Road, Yeagerup.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to the alternative, please? Councillor Hill? Councillor Darren, do you want to speak to the alternative?
Yes, I think we all have had lots of emails about this in the last few days, and I certainly can understand members of the gallery and anybody out there in the community that is a little bit confused. Please assure you that we have all been a little as well. Basically what my alternative raises is that the application for an event and a noise exemption for this event have been withdrawn, but as councillors we would like to both acknowledge that and also very transparently acknowledge that as it has been withdrawn and therefore no other motion has come through or decision has been made by the staff, that there is no Shire authorised event for that date. And at this stage we have no other applications for any other temporary event or long-term events. We have no other applications at this stage for anything. So it's probably a little bit of due process. It's ensuring that we're being very transparent over what has been a confusing few weeks, but making our position clear, and then we will see how things come about over the coming days, weeks, months.
Thank you. Councillor Winfield? Any speakers against?
Speak for it.
Do you
Look, I'd just like to thank the gallery for coming out tonight in a difficult situation, some for, some against. I know, but just to also say that all this will be taken on board. Yeah, if it's tonight to come and speak, we'll remember what you've spoken. It's all been recorded, so if we do have applications, just reassure you that you have been heard by council. And look, just to also support the fact that it is worth coming out. We make this opportunity, something that never occurred to me quite to the extent was pointed out tonight. I think Mrs. Berghouse and others pointed out that as a Shire we have provided facilities for these types of things. I think we spent something like $750,000 to build a sound shell and for this sort of thing, and I think it's relatively cheap to hire. I think our ovals are close to free. Yeah, I think the ovals are free. We might have to pay a fee to the club or something, but the ovals themselves at Ray Park and whatever are free of charge. So for a very minimum cost. So good point making, something that hadn't occurred to me particularly. So it was good to see democracy and the 3 minutes work tonight and all those points you made and taken on board. And thank you for coming out and voicing them tonight.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Interpretive dance. Excellent. Shall we put it to the vote then? Councillors, all those in favour?
Carried 6-0.
Alrighty, that's it. There being no further business to discuss, I thank you for coming and close the meeting at 6:30.